Welcome back. Now, before we went for the break, we talked about the leadership. We talked about difference between a politician and a leader. And from what you've heard, you can now tell what the difference. Now, our next question, sir. What ails a nation that has politicians and not leaders?
Not leaders. Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's a very nice question. What ails a nation that has politicians, not leaders, is a lot. Because number one, when you are having politicians, what happens is the people of that nation are suffering. Recently, we've seen people moving from Senegal and crossing the sea going to Spain via boat. About 300 Africans perished in the sea because they were going to Spain to be enslaved. And while they are crossing the sea going to Spain, their leaders were riding in V8 vehicles and at the same time saying how they are going to develop the nation. So when you have more politicians, the people of that nation will really suffer. Because you find somebody talking about he's worth 3 billion, when in the same nation, somebody cannot even afford 1 meal. You will hear somebody saying that during campaigns, that is going to fundraise for his campaign, and 1 plate of a meal is going to cost 1 million, when throughout the time he has been in power, he has never fundraised any event just to take care of a hospital or a school. But during his campaign, 1 plate, 1 million. That's the problem. Those are now politicians. Because how can you raise money for your campaign to tell people lies when there's very people, they are dying in poverty? So the moment you are politicians, that nation will suffer. Number two, the nation resources is not explored. That's why you find people from Kenya, for example, they are going to be enslaved in Saudi Arabia, which is a desert. And this nation, there is a lot of resources God-given that can make them become self-employed, produce more food to actually export to Saudi Arabia. But they would rather go to Saudi Arabia, be enslaved, be made mates and all those kind of stuff, and leave their nation, because in their nation, we are having a lot of politicians saying a lot of nothing. All right? When you have politicians, somebody will drive a vehicle worth 26 million, and is leading somebody who has got no house, no roof. Somebody is living in slums. They have no toilet, no water. But somebody goes in that slum with a vehicle of 26 million. That is the problem when you have politicians versus leaders. Because if you're having a leader, somebody will say, I need a car for only even 400,000. Yeah, and the balance I'm going to have, I would rather make toilets for people, I would rather build schools for people, I would rather improve the lives of people in that area. For example, when we have our Pope coming in this nation, he was given a V8 riding. He refused at the airport. Instead, he entered his Camini car, which is consuming less fuel, all right, which is a very humbling vehicle. That's a leader. Because why should you ride in a V8 and going to a slum to see somebody who is dying because he didn't have a meal? It doesn't make sense. So the moment you have politicians and not leaders, those people will keep suffering. If you can imagine this nation like Kenya, go to slums, people are dying hungry, people are diarrheaing, people are suffering from all sort of challenges. But when you go to parliament, somebody has even taken a loan for 10 million to buy his own car, and maybe buy the wife another car, and buy the other wife another car, and buy another children another car. When people in the slums, where he will run to go and address them shamelessly, do not afford a meal. This is the problem of politicians. They are never ashamed of the suffering of their own people. All right? When their families are safe, they run to the very people and they humiliate them. Let me give you an example. A politician is never ashamed to the extent that even when he's coming out of those shameful politics, he wants the son to come and take over and continue enslaving the very people he has enslaved for years. All right? That's why in Africa, politicians, they are not safe. They're always afraid of their lives. They want to stay in power for life. Why? They cannot mingle with people. Look at a country like America. Obama retired. He's mingling with people. He's eating in any hotel with anybody. He's not afraid. He's not scared of anything. But here, politicians, they are so afraid because, number one, the guilt will never be free. They're always scared. Something could be happening. Somebody might be after our life. That kind of thing. So when you are a leader, you don't fear. You mingle with people. You talk to people because people are actually your business. When you are a politician, you are scared of the very people. Why? Because you are stealing from them. A thief will never be free with his clients. You understand?
Let me cut it short.
Yes.
Before you go, you're talking of mingling with the people.
Yes.
That you're talking with, and they're afraid of them.
Yes.
I've heard of this notion that when you are in another class, you're not supposed to associate with those other people. An example is somebody once said that let me give an example. There's one of the politician's son who died, and when he went home, they were complaining that he was poisoned or he was killed, something like that. Now, one of the women there around there said that if only he would be walking with the class that he was supposed to walk with, he would have gotten himself into this. Do you think it is right that we have these classes? These are politicians. They cannot eat in the same restaurant with these people because, like you've said, they're always afraid. What is costing this?
That's a very misleading narrative because how can you say there is a class of politicians, there's a class of kawaida people? So whom are you leading? Because when you are becoming a leader, and that's why we need to understand the spiritual part of a nation. Kenya, we are 80% Christians. That means we need to look like Christ. When Christ came, he was mingling with low-class people. He was sitting with them. He was eating with them. And that's what we call leadership. A leader will eat, mingle, talk to people, understand the problem these people are having. All right? So when you find that there is that classes and all that, that is a misled kind of narrative, which is even making you look so funny. All right? When you talk about a leader, there is no class. Because these are your very people you are supposed to lead. How will you lead what you don't know? And that's the problem you're having. Because the moment somebody gets to parliament, he gets a tinted car. The winds everywhere is tinted. You cannot even see the guy. And he comes out, he expects you to clap at him. I will never clap at somebody who is behaving like that. Because that is even cheating him. All right?
Yes.
And then they go on and start giving handouts. When you're giving people money so that they can like you, number one, it is like it's like buying a prostitute. You don't care about her. You don't care what she's doing. You don't even care about the parent. So you're just enticing them with money. And that's what politicians do. They give you money so that they can shut you up. Yeah? And the money you have been given, now you have just given away your dignity. And they have given you their shame. So the more we receive from these people, money especially, the more we enslave ourselves. And they are really fond of doing that. Anybody who gives you money that you have not worked for, question the motive behind that money. Because money is a product that you need to receive after delivering a service. It's not supposed to be given for free. So anybody giving you free money, that person has a very negative motive. And he looks at you like a useless thing. All right? If a dog passes by and you are eating, you can throw a bone. So you who is receiving the money and this dog, you are all the same. That is why nobody will listen to you. You look like a dog to him. All right? So Kenyans, let us know, leaders will never give you money. Politicians will always give you money. But a leader will never give you money because he wants you to be respected. He will give you opportunities. He will open your mind. He will show you what you need to do. All right? He will tell you how we can tap into resources and make things better. He will tell you how to turn a country around that was not producing anything to start being very productive. Like, let me talk about Western and Nyanza, where I come from. That is a hub for breeding a lot of fish. We have water running throughout the year. So Western and Nyanza, fish should be costing less than 30 shillings per piece because you can produce them. But because we don't have leaders, instead of even getting fish from Western, we are getting fish from China. And our leaders are fond of that. And they stand and talking to us. Those politicians, they are the ones who are making even Western and the Nyanza region to suffer. And some of them, their fathers made us to suffer. And now they are making us to suffer. Because Can you imagine if every homestead will have a fish pond? How much fish are we going to produce?
A lot.
A lot of it.
A lot, yeah.
Now, people coming from Nairobi to come to Kisumu, Kakamega to eat fish, fresh fish, all right?
Yeah.
And even we'll be exporting fresh fish from Kakamega and Kisumu to outside countries because we can produce them.
Yeah.
There's no time we suffer dry spell. But look, because of politicians, even us, we buy fish so expensive
Great.
than anybody else. You see, that's the suffering now. We forget about what God has given us. We start now looking for other resources that maybe God has not given us.
Thank you, sir.
So we need to really be careful. Our sons and our daughters are suffering in outside countries. Why? Back at home, there's no leadership. There's filled with a lot of politicians. That's why anybody right now, you tell anybody to go to America, tomorrow you say, I'm ready to go. Why? Here we don't have a leader. In America, there is a lot of good leadership. All right? We saw Obama. We saw other people coming in with very sharp minds. And when they speak, even when they address, maybe you must have noticed this. Obama was not even reading anything anywhere. Why? Leadership is natural. It's something that comes from you. But in where there is politician, even with a written speech, he cannot read. He'll be reading and you see now, that is the danger we have.
We are taking a break. We are taking a break, but we're coming back. Trust me, this is interesting. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about how to transform our country from the system of politics and leadership. So stay tuned.
Thank you.